You have obviously Rumble that is still up and available. And if we're moving away from some of these other junglers, I think when it comes to both Climber and Shun, making sure that they are comfortable, especially for our rookie jungler in LGD, making sure that he gets a champion that gives him impact is going to be good.
I mean, I know it's a hover, but we did talk about the Rumble earlier.
Okay.
Now we actually get to talk about it. It's locked in.
All right. So, Xiaoxu, I have been a big proponent that this guy off of Renekton and Cassante doesn't look great, but I think in more recent series, he's had to step up, especially for this team. So let's see if whether or not they can actually play around it. Now we get to talk a little bit more about what LGD are going to do in response. The Galio is a counter that can be flexed up into the top side. It's been a while since we've seen Galio top lane, at least this year, but always a possibility and an important champion that you're mentioning for taking away from Scout.
Now it's not only taken away from Scout for this game, but again, because Fearless, this goes on.
Yeah.
I really like the Rumble for a similar reason, because this is a very commonly played champ in the top side for both teams. Now, the Ambessa lock-in does sort of give away where the Galio is going.
I don't like this. We're 2 picks in and I'm already a little sad.
Yeah.
Like, we picked into, we had a good matchup blind. We could have taken our jungler here if we were LGD, but now we've opted into a worse matchup top lane that is in favor of JDG, and now they get the rise into the Galio. This is completely free solo lanes now given over to JDG. I think this is a huge mistake and potentially setting up JDG for at least a strong early game. I mean, Rise gets to very easily push around this Galio, and that's kind of one of the problems you're trying to get rid of.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great pick to lock in third as well. Relatively flexible with the Poppy. You can throw this into support, which, I mean, I don't think. I'm going to check. Nope. Zhuo has not played very many games of Poppy this split. I'd like to see him on something like an Alistar at some point during this series. I'm going to throw that out there right now. I think the Alistar has been one of Zhuo's best champions, especially in the last couple of series. But for right now, at least they retain the flexibility with the Poppy. Jarvan going to be locked in his response. I'm
glad that you called that in, because Alistar is a champion that YCX has completely dropped going into Split 3, which very important with all the spellbook shenanigans that we've been seeing. Going into second phase, whether or not we're going to get more AD carry bans. We talked about Peyz and Savior being really big, impactful players, so wouldn't be surprised to see things like Kai'Sa taken away in the draft.
What else are we looking at? I mean, especially with Corki now taken out and the Varus eliminated, we've still got Sivir and Xayah on the table. Sivir, especially for Peyz, would actually be quite good because they're going to have the first pick coming back out. Oh, no. Sorry. When Sivir becomes available, that's going to be I think the AD carry to focus on for both teams, because it's in order of priority, one of their most played champions that are still left.
Sivir is much easier for LGD to play than it is for JD. Like, if you're trying to play against it, I don't want to try and play Sivir into an Ambessa and a Jarvan. That sounds absolutely miserable for us. The Yunara takeaway, I think, is fine. Surprising we actually didn't get to see that early on. It has been a champion that I think has been really, really powerful in the right hands. And we'll have to see, is that Kai'Sa going to be going through? Because honestly, what JDG or what LGD are showing me, we should be going for a dive composition, and Kai'Sa fits right into that. Yep. And if you're not willing to go for that kind of answer, does the Jhin start to gain a little bit more value?
I mean, it's possible. Lucian, maybe not exactly what I was expecting, but can get relatively aggressive. And at this point, I think if you want to go Xayah Rakan here, I'm a big fan of locking in Xayah Rakan at the same time. Yep. It would allow you to shift Poppy into the jungle, and that could be the perfect answer to a dive composition. Okay,
the Rakan now obviously gives you so much flexibility, and what we're seeing right now from JDG is a team composition that is not only going to be really powerful when we get to those 5v5s, but from the lane matchups already, I'm seeing this as a clear win. How LGD are going to get any early objectives is going to be impressive to watch. Can they secure any early dragons? Can they get some of these grubs? Because it's not like they necessarily even win on side lanes. So I feel like the LGD have really pin themselves into a corner here and have to be able to execute.
I mean,
wow.
This is what I'm thinking coming out of the draft. JDG have gotten great picks in both solo lanes. They've gotten Xayah Rakan into a dive composition, and they've got a Poppy into 5 champions with a dash. I don't think there's a lot that could have gone better for JDG in this draft, if I'm being completely honest.
It'll be interesting to see, because JDG don't actually have a tank. It's just Poppy, and Poppy doesn't have, I think, more tools that are similar to like a Nautilus or even a Galio. So yes, they have a very brittle front line, but Scout's going to have like 3,000 HP thanks to Rod of Ages and all the different items he's going to have, especially alongside the Seraphs. Similar with how Rumble is going to build Leandries, you're going to have access to Bloodletter's Curse, so you're going to actually have a lot of deceptive HP. And what I'm wondering here from LGD is whether or not they're actually going to be able to execute on this really aggressive strategy. Because we came in talking about for Climber, he plays a very jungle purist style. We're going to full clear, we're going to make sure that our jungler is strong on objective timers, but Jarvan doesn't really scale that well with gold or experience. Let's get to level 6, we can do an early gank, let's get some early game action for us.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this composition, these two compositions actually are going to be very much based around vision and who gets to objectives first. When we're looking at the first couple of dragons, look out for JDG because they've done a great job of controlling vision around River in their recent series. If they're able to do that here, if they're the first ones to the objective, they've got a lot of opportunity to maybe take this first game. At the same time, LGD have the chance to execute in the first game of the play-ins of JDG and LGD.
10秒到达战场，碾碎他们。
Rest in peace. I heard some fans.
If they're cheering, I can't hear them.
I heard some fans, but yesterday it was tough.
Woo!
It was tough for Weibo versus Ultra Prime. Those guys were suffering. So, interesting to see for me, YCX back on the Nautilus. He has really moved away from this champion, and as a whole, Nautilus priority has gone down thanks to the addition of all of the spellbook supports. You've gotten rid of a lot of the early tankiness that Aftershock does give you, so we've seen a lot of our different players move away from this champion, and Engage has not been his strong suit all season long, and especially in these best of fives, you're going to need those kinds of picks.
Aftershock into spellbook is going to be, I think, really polarizing for these supports and the playstyles where you will have access to once we get into mid-game at this point.
The fans agree. This should be a one-sided series.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Where's the QR code for that one?
They can't link to a Discord like us.
That's true,
Our Discord's too saucy. So, junglers both starting on the bottom side of the map, but with these two champions in particular, watching how the bottom lanes get active early makes it very, very interesting to see if we'll get any unique jungle pathing early on.
The really nice things you saw right there about YCX and the Aftershock is that he is just kind of able to walk at JDG's bot lane because of how threateningly tanky Nautilus can be, especially with level 2 advantage. JDG do position pretty safely as nice hook lands. Oh, almost gets deleted. First blood not going to get picked up there, but it is certainly a nice advantage for the side of LGD.
A strong lane already coming on through here for LGD. This is part of the reason why this Lucian has started to crop up, the lane bully status you can have, and then later on into the game, playing on mid waves really, really aggressively. Glad to see that Savior and YCX already getting off to a good start, and they still have that heal, so they can kind of have they have basically about 200 bonus HP between the two of them.
It costs them literally nothing.
Oh, yeah.
They just walk forward and collect 2 summoner spells, and that is as our junglers are starting to finish their clears around top side. Xiaoxu already pushed up right now, not particularly gankable. The way it's already starting to push back away. We'll see what J4 ends up doing.
Imagine it'll be a bit of an angle. We'll have to watch how the solo laners here in particular end up. It seems like for JDG, Scout is always going to have pressure in this lane. And it'll be up to Shun whether or not he wants to get this scuttle on top side or maybe threaten onto the bottom side of the map and maybe relieve some of that for what has been a already tumultuous bottom lane pairing.
Not going to be shown on vision. I think, Scuttle Crab gets collected and nobody even sees him. Climber does call this, however, going for the bot side Scuttle Crab, so junglers are going to be pretty even at this stage in the game. And now I'm really curious, what does this look like for Climber? I'm expecting junglers to reset really soon, but right after that, does he go back into full clear mode, or does he go for it?
Oh,
held my breath.
They're fishing though, because you see this wave right now. Okay, Climber, let's get our recall in.
Yeah.
We're gonna let this go. Oh.
X not going to be canceled for that. YCX does still have flash, burned the heal, but manages to stay calm in a dangerous situation. Retain the summoner, JDG do have a really nice advantage here. Climber's coming in just to cover and make sure that a turret dive gets prevented.
Right now, really important to see as, yes, Climber can be there, but he's also like, hey, well, my bottom side camps are spawning. Joe's going to use this time knowing that there's a little bit of a difference where Joe can stay in lane. YCX has to walk all the way back. So he goes into the anime jungle, see if he can get any vision, any sight of, hey, is there a camp that's up and available? Do I maybe spot Jarvan out here? It's going to be a massive wave crashed here, and at least a portion of this is going to be solo experience going over to Savior.
With the fact that we've basically just been forcing support resets, though, and the state of the wave just a couple of minutes before this, Climber is incentivized to just continue clearing, and the early game advantage of a Jarvan is not starting to dissipate, but I can see it already on the horizon where Jarvan will lose a lot of the early game impact. The nice thing is with a roam up here, YCX could still help secure first blood. He's still got flash that he held onto in bot lane, and he has not yet been spotted. Cheap for Scout right now. Is he gonna find him? Gets the slow. Nothing else.
So he got the proc, because he got the gold that he gets from hitting an enemy champion off of his support atlas. We're getting a swap here, though. It is going to be the Mbessa teleporting down towards the bottom side, so Xiaoxu and Sasa will not have the ability to answer in 2.5 minutes time for these grubs. And Savior and YCX are not only late to this lane, but it seems like they're going to drag their jungler along. Really important for this play to work. Otherwise, Climber's going to miss out on a timer to potentially get level 6 for the dragon.
Shun's here. Shun's resetting and caught on the reset. He's not the only one. Zhuo going to go down for first blood to LGD. And this is off YCX and the constant hooks.
Yeah, really, really impressive. This is a champion that we haven't seen after the addition of all the spellbook supports, and especially for YCX, has been moving away from a lot of the engaged champions. So early start here for LGD. It's a first kill. Not only did he spend this gold, but I mean, that was a little bit of experience. Climber is going to be able to do his blue buff, bottom side scuttle, and get level 6.
He's pinging Dragon as well. I think just to check the vision on it, make sure that at least LGD have an idea of what's going on in the pit. But there's a world where LGD can actually try and make an early play for Dragon with the fact that they've got the gold to do it.
Also have that hero's entrance from Galio available in mid lane. Is going to have much more combat impact than a Rise Roam Warp, at least from immediate knowledge. So is going to be Climber finishing the scuttle, skips over his blue, so does still get the level 6, and they're going to drag the dragon out of the pit and out of the vision here of JDG. Maybe a quick play happening in mid here with Zhuo and Scout.
Be able to walk this out as LGD. A nice double taunt connects, and Zhuo takes almost half his HP, and this is all while the dragon is being done. Every second bought by LGD is a second towards the dragon. Shun, we'll see if he can go for his steal, but YCX locks him in place. The rest of JDG coming in, and Climber walks away from the dragon. Improper setup by LGD. JDG, that's a thank you for the leash.
Yeah, at least for LGD, they got a wave in on top side that Peyz is not going to have access to, but honestly, we've seen this play get buffered before by multiple different players. When you're talking about Nautilus versus Poppy, if you use the hook in the middle of her Keeper's Verdict, you can cancel it and get right back into the fight. That was a massive outplay there from JDG, and Shun punishes LGD in grabbing themselves the first dragon of the game.
I would say that for the lack of setup that JDG put into that Drake, the fact that they get away with it is fantastic. Now we're looking back at the top side where they were already set up for, except for now with Peyz and Zhuo in the mid lane, they've got an even easier rotation to both sides of the map. And of course, Shun's already making his way towards the grubs.
Until Savior finishes his first item, it's going to be a little harder for him to clear minion waves as effectively as Peyz. And more importantly, what I'm looking at is both of these supports not level 6 yet.
LGD want to challenge. Zhuo, nice knock up, but gets answered by the Aftershock. Peyz is engaged on, has no way out, flashes and connects with the Feather Storm, but enough time was bought by XQW to pick up 2 picks for Savior.
They didn't bring Xiaoxu over for this play, and he doesn't have Equalizer after what he used it on the bottom side. So LGD will grab themselves at least 2 grubs. It'll be a feat that is going towards them in trying to get this epic monster slaying. And mostly for what I'm looking at, you got the flash out away from Peyz, and you were able to take something that will harm you in the later game. Talking about side laning and those grubs.
JDG seeming a little bit disjointed on what to do in the face of LGD there. Zhuo, I guess as we've come to know from Zhuo in his last few games, wanted to go in, And the rest of the team really wasn't ready to do that. It's nice to see the engage, but as the hook lands as well, Peyz doesn't react in time to the Jarvan engage, and this fight does not go their way.
Perfect. I don't know. I just... What the hell is this, man? Like, this was both of these teams very lazy so far around the setup. We talked about it around the Dragon. Now it felt like, JDG's like, perfect, my time. Now I can mess this up as well.
Yeah. If we keep throwing, somebody's gonna end up with the ball.
Someone has to win.
Yeah.
One of these Nexuses has to explode against our will.
Exactly. At the moment, with the objectives relatively even, I would normally call getting just one grub away and disengaging cleanly a win. However, it's not a clean disengage, and with the gold now swinging into LGD's favor, I was worried about Jarvan not getting enough value in the early game. I'd say he's definitely gotten value in the early game now. He's picked up, or helped his team pick up, the 3 kills, 100% kill participation for Climber thus far. And if he can keep this ball rolling, especially into the next rig spawning in 2 minutes time, this could be huge for LGD.
And also, think about where that gold is going to be, right? We already have 2 and 0 and 1 here for Savior. You now have a Galio that's also going to get a little bit of that gold, and he's going to be very problematic for the solo laners of JDG to deal with in a team fight. So we need to see from LGD's perspective, not only can we maybe snowball this objective, but what else can we grab? Dragon's going to be spawning in a minute and a half. And from JDG's perspective, how are we going to cheat on the map? How can we take a timer here to go for a certain wave? Can we overload on one side? You can see they brought Shun and Zhuo to do this, but YCX is matching something that should be the power of a spellbook support.
I'm really curious what JDG's positioning of Xiaoxu on the map is going to look like from here as well. Rumble, particularly strong, of course, in team fights, but Xiaoxu is a huge source of JDG's side lane pressure, not just as a champion, but as a player. And where they have him on the map, what team fights he chooses to attend or not, are extremely significant in the next 10 minutes.
Okay, so he has teleport, his equalizer is back up, and because he has an idea that there are members from LGD that are not near his lane, I don't think he should be that worried about the Galio that is on his side of the map. I think right now what he should be looking for is, let's see if I can push Galio under his turret and see if I can trade one of these summoner spells. Maybe get his teleport out before this next dragon fight.
Yeah, getting a teleport would be absolutely massive, because even now from the top side of the map, Galio can't arrive at Dragon, and Dragon, as we previewed, is the upcoming objective. Now 30 seconds left on that, and JDG fishing for a play around the mid lane. Could be as easy as the grubs, but a huge engage from Zhuo, and Jun's right there immediately after, and Peyz again gets counter-engaged on by Climber, and this time, no flash, no Storm, is caught in the Cataclysm and taken down.
There we go. Really tight timer there for them to find. They knew that the flash was no longer up for Peyz. They get his barrier, and this should be their early move going into the dragon. You saw that XQW, he dropped that top wave. He teleported right into mid and didn't even have to use the hero's entrance. So they will have this in time for the Herald spawning in 2.5. Are they going to go for a dive on the scout? He has no flash, no teleport. This could be huge for LGD. They have no vision of him.
Just barely not having vision as well. They will still get a few plates off this, but with Scout canceling the recall, Zhuo on the way, you wish you'd stuck around for that. You wish you hadn't canceled the back, but at least you get the dragon on top of it. Again, trade of plates as Shun engages into what I think should be a nothing burger.
That's called phase rush and out.
Yeah.
We're gonna get our keystone.
Got him.
We're gonna call it a day. We're going to take a look back at this engage on mid. I think a little too early here from Zhuo. Look at where Shun is. Nowhere near this fight. And Climber, great execution between him and his support. All of their spells go right onto Peyz. And there's just no way for them to focus. The fact that Shun even loses his flash in this situation, when the target from LGD is the AD carry, a little bit of that sloppiness that we've seen from JDG.
And at this point, Peyz has his flash back up. Funny how it happens after the play, but this is really the timer that the whole game is going to revolve around. The game plan from LGD is clear. Get on top of Peyz and take him out. When the flash is up, JDG have a chance to outplay, and when they don't, especially with the gold lead and the advantage, at least in the way they've been playing the game over the last few minutes, that LGD have, no way that Peyz is surviving. Essence Reaver now picked up for him. We still got a ways to go before this Xayah can feel comfortable.
Yeah, our two top laners are level 11, although on opposite sides, this is an advantage towards LGD. They would much rather have the Galio facing off against the Rumble, and for Sasa, by him going this Hex Shrinker style of build, he's a little weaker in team fights, but it's really powerful for the individual lane. So I want to see if maybe LGD can find a squeeze angle. I can't believe we're 14.5 minutes in, and LGD have a 1,000 gold lead. They're up 4-0 in kills, and they've been pretty competitive already on the objectives.
This is a great sign for the players. We were talking about it earlier, but how far can they take what they've learned throughout the whole year of LPL? Right now, they've taken it to a pretty challenging early game against JDG, who have not been known as early game throwers. They've been playing pretty well in the early game, especially from the last year's.
Exactly. So it's going to be Savior using the culling there, applying pressure onto Peyz, and seeing if we can get an early recall. This gives LGD premier setup on this topside objective. With the Herald already spawned, and Bessa's going to walk late into this fight. Galio's going to now drop this bottom lane wave as he no longer has teleport. This could be a tight window here for JDG to play on, but you have to catch the mid wave.
That single ward, no vision. Control ward gets dropped on it as well. You can bump away a Jarvan, but
nice
interrupt. This is a very nice play by Shun to go ahead, walk in, pick up the Rift Herald with the rest.
Oh, we're fighting now. My top laner just TP'd. We're doing something, boys. Like, if I'm Xiaoxu, we're complaining. This is max complain meta. Like, I just TP'd for this fight, and now there's nothing to do. Let's make a dive on top side. Pings are going off. Duo's going to spot 3 of the members of LGD roaming, and they're going to cut Sasa off in this way. This might just be first turret going over to JDG.
And it should be. I mean, well earned with the teleport like you talk about. You invest that, you get not just the Rift Herald, but the top lane turret. Now you're able to use the Rift Herald elsewhere to crack apart the map. It's a good way for JDG to claw back some momentum in this game, and this could be a better one. In come two, Scout, accompanied by Shun, get countered by the hero's entrance, but flash out from Scout keeps JDG dancing around the edges of LGD. No clear way for the engage to go, but in connects the hook, and down goes Scout. Featherstorm, and the dance pulled back by Peyz is going to be used right now, but won't be enough to help him disengage. Peyz gets left out to dry, and JDG run back home.
JDG thought they had enough damage. Xiaoxu, I really want to take a look back at that fight. What the hell is JDG doing? They just left Scout out to dry. He's in complete no man's land. And LGD start off this game 6-0, despite some of the woes we've seen around objective setups. Let's watch this one more time. I just need to see what happens. What's going on here? Where's my damage dealer? Like, my equalizer is here. Like, Sasa completely takes this up. The solo lanes of LGD, I think, are pulling overtime in this fight. And Peyz is too far up. There is not enough frontline for the JDG comp, which we did know in draft.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Looking at this, you can even see Scout step forward, re-engaging into the fight, going, surely somebody is walking up on the other side of this. Somebody is applying pressure, and you find out very quickly that that's simply not the case. Nobody but Scout, on a rise of all champions, is able to apply any pressure, any sort of front line, and it lets a clean engage happen for the side of LGD. Really nicely played from them. And now we're back to a map state where JDG, yes, they've got a Rift Herald, yes, they've cracked first tower, but they can't seem to win a fight to make use of it.
So right now, Shun already clearing most of his top side. It seems like for now, Scout is going to have access to the blue buff, and maybe they make a Realm Warp play later on. I'm just thinking, we have Dragon up. I think for both of these teams, especially from LGD, they're more focused on making sure that they can get control of mid, and then they'll move in, clear out the vision right now. And JDG seem a little lost. They don't even want to play for this objective.
I wouldn't. I mean, Peyz's flash is down. Realistically, as
down
JDG,
items, yeah,
you don't get to win a fight until post 20 minutes.
I mean, they're also just down items, right? I didn't highlight this before, but Savior already done with the Flicker Blade, so he's going to have a lot more ability to dash in and out of fights. Maybe that gives him some more mobility there. And Climber, once he finishes his Dragon, maybe he needs a camp or two. He's going to be very close to that Black Cleaver, so 1 and 2 items finishing relatively soon here for LGD.
Xiaoxu, a little bit aggressive onto Sha, who does have backup from the team and draws JDG down here. I said it before, winning a fight at this point is pretty risky. YCX gets caught and taken down. Xiaoxu continuing the fight, and a nice engage, a nice pick gets caught, but Xiaoxu goes for more, getting greedy onto Climber, forcing a flash from the J for himself. JDG I said they wouldn't win a fight till 20 minutes. They get a pick, and I'm going to call that very work.
And 19 minutes if you round up, it works.
If you round up.
That's basically 20 minutes.
And Peyz wasn't there, so.
So, for JDG, I'm going to be honest here, Dia. I still think this is actually advantage towards LGD, because we're going to have Otacon spawn in 30 seconds, and while JDG might have prio by grabbing these 2 turrets and their first kill of the game, they're going to be walking into this objective with no flash and no teleport from Scout. And now from Xiaoxu, oh, they get out.
No way.
Last second, the Lover's Leap ends up taking them both out of the play. There's a teleport there from XQW. If they can control these lanes, I need to see them push these next few out, because if they can't punish the fact that they've gotten multiple summoners out from multiple of JDG's members, that play that we were just talking about does end up in favor of JDG.
I cannot believe the escape that we just saw. I mean, it wastes resources and time, and more importantly, just denies any advantage that LGD were looking for moments ago. Like you're talking about, just a few minutes left on the next objectives. We're still waiting for some items, but with a nice power spike from Peyz, picking up now the second item, Flicker Blade, as you talked about, matches Savior in some sort of way. It's not perfect, since Savior still has the pickaxe over him, but it's as close as you're going to be, especially after the next few minutes complete and Savior gets his next item.
Climber is not allowed to show on the bottom side, and there are wards there from JDG in his jungle to let him know both of our junglers fighting. We might get into a fight, and we're looking back at this replay. This could have been a picture-in-picture. I'm sorry, LPL.
Now we get the picture-in-picture. And JDG are winning it of all people. We haven't seen the big engage yet, though. Peyz does use the Feather Storm just to get away, as we spoke of earlier. XQW flashing away, but the front line of this Rumble is massive. Xiaoxu, we've seen him in 2 fights now take to the front line, and in both of those, he has managed to win them for the team. Scout engaging on the side onto Sasu, while a nice clean up kill goes over as XQW falls. These are nice team fights being taken by JDG at the right time.
That is an Otacon, and if now LPL, you want to send us to a replay, not a bad time. Yeah. Not a bad time for it. We're going to have teleports coming in from Sasi on the bottom side, but that looked like an incredibly split fight. I mean, we didn't get to see Savior deal any damage in this fight. Let's take a look at this again, now with full screen vision. All right, Climber, we're engaging on a Shun. Where are my damage dealers? Galio's here, okay. Sasi doesn't get in here until now. Savior is using the culling, and all of this onto non-relevant members in my mind. Peyz just barely able to survive. And then the corridor, I mean, that rip on XQW alone. And Savior, again, dealing no damage here. This is exactly what JDG want from you. They want to put you in a barrel and then just let it rip.
Yeah, this is where, as soon as we see Xiaoxu teleport in, the fight went from good to great. The Rumble gets laid down, Savior can't play League of Legends, and they just walk at the few remaining members. It's the perfect game plan from JDG. Difficult to pull off, and even here, Peyz dropped to 25% HP, so there's the danger to this Xayah still very real.
Okay, so Dragon spawns in a minute. No one's really near a soul at this point. We do have Baron spawning in 2.5, and what I'm looking at is 3-minute timer here for Scout. He's going to be finishing his Rod of Ages rather soon. They've actually pushed YCX away, so this opens up for JDG to cement their vision control on the top side, in the bottom side of this map. And I have to say, a player that we've been talking about a little bit, but haven't had a huge focus on, Xiaoxu so far, has really stood up to his lane opponent, and I think started to push his lead in this matchup versus the Mbessa.
And you can tell the way that JDG are assigning him as well. They've left him in the side lane for so long, and finally, whether it's from them, whether it's from Xiaoxu, the comm comes in, I'm ready. But are they ready to fight now? Because LGD certainly are. He does find the engage. Remember, Peyz has flash up for this fight, is playing backline. Featherstorm's in the wrong direction, but still manages to survive. Climber trading kill for kill. Trapped in the Cataclysm for right now. Finally, the rest of JDG get to exit. XQW does find a big taunt and the knockup, and Peyz is down. All of a sudden, this turns around. Scout still alive. Grabs another kill onto Savior, but with only 2 members left, can they pull this out? YCX still alive against Shun. Shun finds the wall stun and the cleanup. That was such a close fight, but JDG get the dragon.
Oh, that might have been an Otacon diff right there, Dia. Just getting all of the explosions gets you that damage, and LGD with an incredibly close fight are unable to get over to JDG, and it grabs JDG this dragon. Now, what we saw in that fight was Savior not being quite there, and that's why it was such a JDG favored fight for so long. I mean, Peyz buying a lot of time. I want to watch where this equalizer goes, because you have all of these different knockups going over. It's actually splitting the fight and burning LGD and XQW, but I mean, this lock-in from Climber, Scout doesn't get here until the very last moment, but it takes up a hell of a lot of damage. I gotta say, Scout played with his HP bar in this fight and in a very close manner. This could have gone either way if maybe he didn't have a Sarah shield going off, or he's just a little too far forward in some instances.
Really put in a lot of work, even then dealing damage up until the last. Made this last bit, I'll say, a little bit easier, because realistically, Shun's not losing this fight.
Oh, yeah.
But I will say a lot of credit over to XQW as well, who on the Galio made it possible to take down a Peyz, who had played the team fight very well. Some of the most damage in that team fight.
GD are moving into the top side right now. They have a lot of spells available to them. And XQW does not have Hero's entrance. You can see that Xiaoxu is flanking from the bottom side. There's a Baron here, and I don't think LGD really want to get caught on this side of the river.
No vision on Xiaoxu. Quick execution still available, but not going to be used right now. Savior going back to get a little bit of mid-prio. Not a bad idea. The rest of JDG disengaging as well. So the team fight likely left for a later date, but Zhuo has to keep playing around the vision as LGD push forward for a little bit more. Still itching for a fight, but now that they've gotten all this vision in the top side jungle, it's very dangerous for JDG to walk in.
I love this toggle from our observers there. We're getting Savior throw a culling.
Watch Peyz and Xiaoxu. We're looking for the equalizer, and we are looking for the Feather Storm. Not gonna come out of these just yet. There's the Feather, rather the Blade Dance into the equalizer, and LGD are melting on top of it. Savior gonna dash in the back line, not even pick up Xiaoxu, although with Peyz dead, things looked good on paper. It was after so much damage had been dealt by JDG.
Can they actually do this, Baron, though? Scout is at a quarter of his HP. Shun's almost full. They're going to get Xiaoxu to teleport back in.
Yeah.
This should be their objective. Nobody from LGD is going to be up. And again, an incredibly close fight here from LGD, but just missing out on some of the margins. The knockups onto Xiaoxu, and more importantly, watching his flash in the back end of that fight means that he is not able to get perfectly executed. We go back into the replay here, and this looks good from LGD.
But the engage is great.
This
and
flash.
Then watching the blade caller into the Rumble ult is just fantastic. I mean, XQW and Climber, Peyz doesn't even have to deal any damage to them. He just has to keep them there. Savior almost finishing the kill. It looks really impressive. But really, it is coming down to how long Peyz survives and where the equalizer goes. Those are the two ingredients for success for JDG.
And what did we talk about coming out of draft was these solo lanes should have favorable matchups. Obviously, we've seen some ups and downs from both Scout and Xiaoxu in this game, but look at the gold lead they now command. Scout in particular, up 2,500 gold on his lane opponent, and almost 3.5 items here now. He's going to be finishing that Void Staff, and he's going to rip apart this LGD team.
Take a look at what Scout can do in the subsequent fights. Is right now solo laning in a way, does have backup from JDG waiting in the jungle and setting up vision for him. The Baron empowered minions making this turret an afterthought. They've still got a couple available in the other lanes, mid and top. Basically freestanding gold at the moment. This is not necessarily the Baron that you break the base with, but it'll help to set you up for that in the future.
Gonna be early gold here. They can look for an engage while JDG are split. Shun's gonna go fishing with yet another Keeper's Verdict, gonna cancel out to keep the timer as we are a minute away from Dragon. Now, Dia, if you want to learn how to potentially get your objective setups to be a little bit better than JDG and LGD this series, we do have a key sponsor for the stream. We have ProDiff. If you want to get personalized coaching from LTA, ERL, and NACL players, you can improve your game and use LPL 10 at checkout to save 10% for an individual coaching session with a bunch of coaches who we've actually had on the broadcast to help them do a little bit of breakdown.
I'm going to say something I could certainly use, but we'll see. Wow!
Oh!
Like, nice exit being made. Shun, courtesy of him. And now the base gets broken. We did talk about this Baron buff not necessarily being used for that, but As soon as you have the opportunity, JDG are going to take it, especially when they are able to keep LGD at arm's length.
All you gotta do is, let's just use it for the time being. Got another 40 seconds. Xiaoxu will not have teleport. It seems like this will be the last wave that JDG will play on. And what I want to see from them now is, how do we control bottom side jungle vision here? Dragon's gonna spawn, and that'll be soul point for one of our two teams here. And for JDG, they can make very quick plays because, oh, actually, I just noticed they don't have the realm warp anymore. So, does cut down JDG's ability to move around the map, and LGD, I think, a little bit lost because they're also losing jungle camps here.
Climber not in the greatest spot at the moment. Equalizer going to be invested just to catch up to him. A slow Jarvan with no flag and drag may as well be dead. YCX trying to escape through the jungle. It is clear that JDG are feeling themselves right now. Flashless Jarvan disengages, but Savior in the meantime picks up Xiaoxu and says, you know what? You know what JDG aren't paying attention to? You know what JDG never set up vision for?
Oh, JDG! What are we doing? Why are we chasing? Like, the idea is fine. Let's chase the enemy jungler out. Thank you. Yes, pro diff. Maybe they might need use for it. Love is obviously not doing a great job in that instance. But, like, I get the idea. Let's chase the jungler away from the objective, and then we can try to force. But they go all in. We even use Scout's Flash. Like, this kind of feels a bit disrespectful from JDG, honestly. And against better teams, I don't think you're going to be allowed to get away in that situation. Maybe against better teams, they wouldn't be in this game state. But LGD now get themselves a dragon. The problem I see here now, Dia, is 2 minutes before that Baron spawns, will LGD be able to survive the next 5 minutes of play?
That's going to be the real telling thing, is over the course of the Baron setup, JDG did get a reality check given that dragon. They should be going back, setting up clean vision, and preparing for engages that actually have gone really well for them recently. We talked about Shuo's lack of tankiness maybe causing some problems. He has been disengaged from the team, or desynced from the team, I should say, as to when they should engage, when they should not during the course of the regular season. I haven't seen that be as prominent this game because Xun is so ready to follow up, and it's a good thing we highlighted Xun at the start of the match. Yeah.
Xun has, at the very least, been playing every jungler like it's a carry. Every single keeper's verdict, it's got hands for somebody here. Equalizer is going to come out mostly to clear the wave and potentially clear the way for JDG to take this top tier 2. It's going to be that on that next wave that they're looking. Still, control of the top side, and Baron spawns in a minute. I think JDG can play this low and slow. Problem is whether or not they're going to actually agree with that take.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't love the equalizer here. Whoa! Did enjoy that. I did enjoy that. And the turret take from JDG going to be pretty nice, even with the dodged, we'll call it in air quotes, keeper's verdict.
Okay, so we've already seen. Here we'll do a little bit of a check mark here for our boys. XQW, you got the check mark. YCX, you have not canceled the ultimate yet. Jarvan can do it. We haven't seen it, so
there's potential.
Always potential, like for LGD.
Yeah. We can find a few more moments. It's weird that Climber really hasn't been keeping verdict at all. It's been so focused on YCX, even around the objectives, but he's made himself a difficult target. And actually, Climber playing pretty well, especially during the early stages of this game, to lock down Peyz. We got to bring that laser focus back. If Climber and Savior can focus out Peyz, can find a good angle, and maybe catch JDG lacking a little bit, that's where they've got their shot. But remember, Peyz, flash up, and with his front line eating the engage, there is just no way Peyz is dying. He gets to play the back to front, does use the Feather Storm though, actually is quite low and gets taken down. XQW helps him out there. But with Xiaoxu now re-entering the fight, and Scout, like you talked about, Scout with a triple kill and playing the health bars just like he always has, helps his team pick up the team fight victory, and now I think they're looking to end the game.
Yep, they've got a super inhibitor minion wave coming on through. Just not enough here for LGD. A clean fight, and one where everybody was looking at Peyz, but Scout ends up making the difference here.
That was an excellent fight, and Scout pick up on Xiaoxu. I'll be honest, bit of an afterthought. This is going to be a game going to JDG. And while all the focus, like you talked about, was on Peyz, I am so glad you've been highlighting Scout through this match, because he is a huge reason, one of the biggest reasons that they were able to escape from this game one. The early and take it into a game 2 with a victory.
It feels like whiplash, because when we on the broadcast are in pain because of the eye bleach that comes from Scout's gameplay, we are like, why are you like this? Why are you doing this to us? We're fans. Like we want to be singing your praises. But then you look at JDG's wins throughout the regular season, and a lot of the MVP votes have been going over to Scout. So when he does step up, he has a massive impact. It's about finding those moments, and if we can really fine-tune that as we get into the back end of our season.
I think you could tell that during the course of this game, I was really on the Xiaoxu train for what the biggest impact in team fights was, the player that we were going to be looking at ultimately as a likely MVP. But I was really converted throughout the course of the last couple of fights, especially with that one that you pointed out in Run Dragon Pit, where Scout was playing so well to, like you said, balance his health bar, the amount of aggro that he was able to soak with what his team was then able to pick up.
Now, whether or not Scout was doing that intentionally, with the fact that I have my Saras, like, if I die, I die. That's going to be a question left to them unless we get access to comms. But I'm glad that we are seeing this from a player. And again, we did come into this matchup saying this is a tall task for LGD to win tonight's series. They have not won a series versus JDG in 4 years. And for JDG, despite the woes that they've had, they should be, on paper, the more experienced team that can prove themselves here, and whether or not what form we're going to get JDG in playoffs.
We saw that experience come through in this game, I think, because coming out of the early deficit, it should have been a lot easier for LGD to convert that into several nice plays. The fact that JDG were able to find some picks, starting around the bot side, chasing down singular individual members, converting those into turrets, those are ways to get back into the game and really grab yourself a little bit of gold to then take later team fights that I don't think we see a less experienced team make. I think a lot of less experienced teams sort of sit back, let the game happen to them.
Kind of, and really what we've seen from LGD is, I will say, a growth. Because there was a moment in Split 1 and Split 2 where we saw a lot of games where LGD were winning, they made a critical error, and then they kept chasing the bull. They're like, okay, we need to get back in this game, we need to do an overly aggressive play to get us back in. But this time around, they did kind of let the game come to them, but in realizing that JDG are a team that aren't perfect, they aren't flawless, and a big criticism that we had for them was their objective setups. Both of these teams lacking that, and I think for LGD, it did come to bite them ultimately in the end.
It did. JDG's felt like hubris, you know, just going, well, especially in the late game, we can chase Climber because we've got the objective in our back pocket. For LGD, I think they were, I want to call it a little bit disrespectful in a very different way. It didn't feel like hubris. It felt like, hey, we may as well try this. Maybe we can get away with it in the early game, and they just couldn't.
I think generally they also just misplayed a lot of situations. Like YCX is getting hit by multiple of those poppy ultimates that we noted, but not necessarily canceling them. And then we see multiple fights where Sasa isn't involved properly, where Savior isn't quite there. Like this fight in particular, where are my damage dealers? These guys are still delivering my Uber Eats. Yeah. Like they're still packaging the food. They're still getting into the car, finding my address, eventually making it to my house. Like, they're nowhere here. Yeah. They're nowhere nearby.
Yeah, this was one of the like picture perfect fights for JDG, whether it be in an even game state or a game state in this case where they were a little bit behind. The fact that they were able to lay down the equalizer and completely lock out Savior from the fight. We saw a very similar thing happen here. This was the one where we were really highlighting Peyz and his play, and then later on, checking out what Scout was able to do by essentially frontlining for the entire team, which we saw him do, unfortunately, earlier.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sometimes give it and take it.
Yeah.
Very strong fight from them. And for JDG, we need to see continued levels of success. Yes, their early game wasn't clean in this game, but I imagine as we get further into the series, as they get a little bit more comfortable on their setups, I imagine this team is only going to grow a little bit more confident with each and every stroke. So what I need to kind of glean from JDG is what identity are we going to see from them? Because this is a very important best of 5 that kind of feels like a gimme. Like, hey, we're going up against a team that is from Nirvana. We're expected to win. We can take this a little easier, but I need to glean or see some attempt at fortifying an identity for them going into playoffs.
And that part of that is going to be shifting because of the fact that we've expanded to really specific team comps in a way. The fact that we end up getting a Jarvan, but then Xayah Rakan gets picked up into it, will likely give us a better look at what the game plan is for JDG going into future matchups around like early macro. But the late game fights are going to play out so differently because both of these compositions were, I want to say, hyper specific in how they wanted to execute.
Yeah. Maybe cut out from the draft, right? We were talking about like, okay, maybe you can go for Jhin, you can go for Kai'Sa. The Kai'Sa was obviously banned and we didn't get to see too much. But what were good things for LGD? The early game looked fine.
Yeah.
Like maybe the Dragon was a little misfortunate, but we took a look at the laning phase. Savior and YCX were slamming Peyz and Droll early. There were some moments there where I felt like LGD could have pushed themselves a little bit more. And this is the last test. This is one of your last series you're going to be playing this season if you don't win this one. So can we put to use what has been 9 months?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the team fights and the coordination from LGD, their target selection was really good in mid-game fights. I would say that outside of game, their draft could be a little bit better. I like that they ultimately got an identity, but they did give up a lot of their ability to influence the solo lanes. As we mentioned, like super early on, they were giving that up and not retaining the flex.
Let me draw for a second.
Is that? Yeah.
Oh?
Well, it's not what I would have gone for, but what's the argument here?
He had really, I don't say good. I think the word I want to use specifically is important keeper's verdicts.
That's true.
Some of them were miffs, some of them were whiffs. The verdict was innocent, but most of them were pretty pivotal to whether or not JDG were going to win.
I want to be clear, I'm not a Shun hater, by the way. But maybe
that's a great way to start.
Yeah, but maybe not an MVP giver for this match. That the Poppy felt more like a plug and play here. You know what? We're gonna debate this a little bit more.
Yeah.
I want to hear what you guys think about it as well. Where would you have put the MVP? Am I missing something? Was Shun the obvious choice?
But if you want to support LPL English, consider becoming a Coffee member. Coffee is the best way to support the LPL English broadcast, as the vast majority of your contributions go directly towards the show. A lot of the initial payments immediately go into upgrading the broadcast so we can draw on screen, but a huge bulk of it does go to paying our on-air talent and content creators. Subscribe to our Coffee, linked in chat, to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our on-site interviews. Guys, we're going to kick it to a short break. Dia and I are going to go debate whether or not Shun got an 8 out of everyone. Okay, we're not even debating anymore. We're just going to argue with the LPL people. And when we're back, we'll be here with Game 2 between JDG and LGD.